Is it happening? It's all happening.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Cinema 9 podcast. Travis says it's happening, and I think that is accurate. He's Travis Roy. I'm Michael Govier. The other guy's Eric Brandstrom and his daughter. A very special episode featuring the Brandstrom family. Look at that. Cutesy wootsy. She's so lovely. People love babies. How can you not love a baby? It's a lot of fun. It's all downhill from there, but man, it's a good time when you're a child. So
depends on their politics, really.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
Yes, we will be getting into the Burbs, which was the winner of our listener selection game. That was Travis's closet of movies, if you will, his old cupboard of... Remember those, I remember when I lived in my house in the 90s, we had this thing that it kind of opened up from the middle to like two swinging doors, and it had tons of VHSs in it. I don't see those around much anymore.
Yeah, ours were just piled up in like that top shelf in one of the closets of the bedroom. Just you had to like pull a stack out to see the ones behind them. You know,
wow,
all just labeled with that label maker thing.
The label maker, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk Burbs today. It's gonna be a good time. It's a classic. I mean, no secrets about this one, but we will enjoy talking about it because we love the Burbs. We do. And Derek, don't even try to make that face. Sure, you want to build tension, you can try, Eric. Eric's making a face of, I don't know. But either way, we welcome you, cinema9pod at protonmail.com. That's how you can send us an email. We prefer you don't, but you can. You were legally allowed to do it, I believe.
An option.
And yeah. So Travis Roy, Hazel Park, Michigan. What's cooking?
Oh, not too much. You know, I watched some movies this past week. I worked my job. And then I came back full circle to do the podcast again. It's really fantastic.
Wow. Increíble. That is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cocaína.
Were you able to mow your lawn in peace this week?
I've shifted schedules where I was doing it on Thursdays. Now I'm mowing on like the weekend. So I had a good mow last weekend. We'll see how this one goes. So far I haven't been murdered. So that's the plus. How you doing, Eric?
I'm great. Like, since I've been off work, like I'm doing nothing but just literally sitting here. Like, this is what I do all day. I sit here, I feed this baby, and I watch movies. So, to be honest with you, this hasn't happened in a long time. I'm like getting burnt out. Like, I've watched so many movies, like my eyeballs are bleeding. So, it should be interesting this week.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of films. You did send us a picture where you didn't look You looked shocked, I guess. Is that the word? You looked shocked?
In our text let's just say I threw an antique like vase across the room. I was so mad at one point while watching a movie. I've never done that.
I tossed it right into my decanter.
Yeah, in my decanter.
I was in my foyer and I smashed a vase with my decanter.
my authentic suit of armor fell over, shattered all over the place.
Wow, well, that sounds like a real hoot. Man, I'm kind of envious of your situation over there. But one thing I do know is we will talk movies on this show. And as far as emails, you guys were on a roll recently. We really had like a healthy dose of emails, which I thought was fun because when you guys connect with us on the show, it makes life better for everybody, really. Do we agree with that? What do you think?
Do people know that we're joking when we say don't send us email? They might.
Yeah,
take
well,
it
that's
seriously.
what weeds out the people who don't know us. See, because the true people who know the joke, they're gonna stick with us.
But don't we want everyone to email? we want an audience only of our friend base. Thank you. No,
you started the joke, so you tell me. I'll just follow your lead.
Joke. Yep,
Well, here's today's email from our old pal Chud Pud.
Hey,
also known as Aaron, with an E-R-O. I never knew anybody who spelled Aaron E-R-O until I met Aaron. There
should be an N in there somewhere.
And the N, yes. There's
okay.
an N.
I was confused.
Implied. I had to bail early on last week's live stream, but I wanted to comment about Biloxi Blues. Travis was speculating on why I love the movie so much, and he was partially correct. The other part is how, even though it's set 50 years before I served, Aaron's a veteran of the Air Force, it really depicts the interpersonal relationships I had perfectly in training and those first few years. Also, me and Dana watched both Stigmata and Stir of Echoes in the theater, the base theater on Elgin Air Force Base. I don't remember anything about either movie. Well, what a great note to close on.
It's been 22 years, so I guess. Nope. So some of us think you should revisit Stir of Echoes. Some of us don't. So there you go.
Yeah, well, it didn't hold up overall. It was a 2-1 ruling, and that's fine with me. I mean, it's just a movie that existed, and I find it entertaining. That's it.
I don't remember much about Biloxi Blues except like Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck are both in it. I think that's how Alan Ruck was invited to audition for Ferris Bueller.
That's
Is that not
incorrect.
the case?
He maybe he was in the stage performance, or maybe he was.
Yeah, he was in the play with Matthew Broderick. But like both of them in the film, they're like 80 pounds. Do you have to do like the boot camp in the Air Force?
He's not in the film. That's what I'm saying. Alan Ruck is in the film.
Okay. Matthew Broderick is very small and not very built for being in the Army. Like, was there no like training back in the day, or?
Well, it takes place during training. Like it takes place when they first show up on, I think, Paris Island. Yeah. So I mean, it's yeah. Of course he's skinny. He hasn't trained yet.
Okay. Oh yeah, I was wondering about that. All I remember is that cover box, like smiling at you. Doesn't he have like kiss lips on his face or something? Or am I?
Yeah, he's trying to get laid. This movie's about this is the classic Neil Simon, young guy's trying to get laid, but he's in a spot where he's just a box. I'll grant you that.
A shit cover box. A shit demon. All right. That's our email for today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
For a nice guy. Thanks, buddy. That's it. Yep. I'm making sure I'm triple checking our email is closed. Let's move into quarantine viewing picks. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Now, last week, I made a proclamation that I would stop reducing my amount of movies that I was intaking. I think I did a better job of it. There's still more work to do, but I'm progressing. How about you, Trev?
I think I watched about one less movie than usual.
That's progress.
I didn't really change much. Oh, and remember last week when I said I only watched horror movies? Yeah, I did that again this week. I only watched horror movies.
Thank God.
If you count the Burbs as a horror comedy, which I do, I only watched horror movies this week. So let's get into it. I caught Maniac Cop from 1988. Bruce Campbell is a boss. That was fun. I watched Love and Monsters from 2020. Very enjoyable film. I wrote a review on our Instagram page, which I encourage you to follow. It's a fun movie, and it's one of the rare movies where I'm like, yes, please give me a sequel. I really liked this movie. I watched The Howling from 1981, little Joe Dante action, who also directed The Burbs. I'd never seen The Howling. It's funny. I was really obsessed with werewolves growing up. I didn't watch most of the werewolves movies growing up because like they all came out when I was like an infant. So like they were like still in the ether, but like I was too young to watch them. So I was like, I heard about them, but I was always too scared to watch them. So I like had never even seen The Howling. And I did not expect like the first like, I don't know, full on fucking hour to be like a classic police movie, you know, like, I'm like, where the fuck are the werewolves in this thing? And then they came, and Robert Picardo, who played like the main villain, and that is just so awesome. And Batine's special effects are incredible. So like, I was underwhelmed in some ways, but blown away in others, and it was cool to finally watch that. I watched Rabid, David Cronenberg's Rabid from 1977 for the first time, which, dude, it was fucking awesome. It was so good. I really would like to see more porn stars make the segue into legitimate film because Marilyn Chambers was great. And lastly, the worst film flub I've ever seen in film history. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but it's the most obvious error. Like there's this scene where like the lead character, the lead actor, like he's like driving a car in New York and he like gets stopped on the street because there's like rabid people in front of him, and like these other guys come out and like shoot the rabid person, and like you get like not one but two shots from far back, and like the character is driving alone, and you're like looking at the movie and just like, well, there's the cameraman just plain as fucking day sitting in the back seat with the camera like trained right next to his face and shit. I'm like, it's the most of all. I mean, I've seen some film flubs, but I'm actually really terrible at spotting these things. So it was kind of funny to like catch that in this classic film. Was
it like so bad that like they saw it in the work print, but like it was too important to cut and they had no footage? They couldn't cut around it?
That was the worst thing about it. It was just a totally unnecessary scene. It really didn't serve any major function in the film. And so it was like, not only was it super obvious, it could have easily been cut and it wouldn't have affected the film in the slightest. So it was really weird, but it was a great movie. And if you haven't seen Rabid, I would recommend that absolutely. I watched The Gate from 1987, which I'd never seen before.
What? You never saw The Gate?
I'd
Oh,
never
man.
seen The Gate. Dude,
Wow.
I'm glad I didn't watch it as a kid. That movie would have fucked me up.
Yeah, it explains a lot for me, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Woo!
As a kid, I remember watching that, like 8 years old.
That would have fucked my shit all up. That is a weird little movie. I liked it. I had no idea that Stephen Dorff was a child actor. I had no idea. But it was pretty good. I don't know that I'm gonna dig into Gate 2 real quick, but I mean it was so weird too, because it was like god damn, the fucking 80s, man. Like they would make these horror movies that were clearly geared towards children, yet at the same time completely inappropriate with children. We talked about this with RoboCop, which is not exactly a horror movie, but like just like what the fuck is happening with that movie? It was great. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I thought maybe I mentioned it once on the show as like one of the few, because you guys were digging like there's got to be a scary movie that you liked as a kid, and I think I mentioned it once, but that was one that always stuck with me. The Gate. I could see it clear as day, and that was the go-to. I would say that I still liked. I haven't seen it in a few years, but I'm sure it's still fun.
I thought you'd watched it since we started the podcast. I felt like you talked about it in that context once, but maybe I'm wrong. At any rate, I knew that you enjoyed it, so I figured I'd give it a listen or give it a watch. Plus, I'm also like very deliberately trying to educate myself with some of the classic horror films as I do this thing where I'm trying to stop watching movies I've seen before, which I only watched 2 movies this week that I'd seen before.
Good boy.
Yeah, I'm trying. So it was cool, to get some classics under my belt, like Nightbreed, also from 1990, directed by Clive Barker. I'd never seen that. Interesting film. I could see why it didn't turn into the trilogy that he wanted it to. And then, I've watched a few others, but I'll wrap it up with, I watched The Dark and the Wicked from 2020, which this guy, Lee Cronin, is the one that's going to helm Evil Dead Rises. He's going to be taking the reins on that. It was an interesting little horror movie. I liked it. It was kind of slow and plotting, but not in a necessarily bad way. But the main thing I got from it is that it's I forget who the studio is, but it's not A24. But like, it's weird that I'm starting to see like A24's influence on horror film, where like I'm seeing movies that straight up, and it's weird because like multiple directors have worked for A24 and made horror movies, but at the same time, there's like kind of like, Blumhouse kind of does too, but like there's like this fucking distinct A24 horror feel that this movie has, yet it's not from that studio. So I would recommend that one, but like go in lightly because it's not the greatest. If I had to recommend anything out of what I watched this week, I'd say Love and Monsters.
Wow, look at you, movie master. Watching some movies. You do.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
All right, Eric Branshaw. What have you been watching? Are you tense? Do you need a massage?
No, I've always hate massages. Like if anyone has ever tried to give me one, I like freak out. I don't like anyone giving me a massage. I don't understand how people like massages. Like people like touching your body, especially like
don't
strangers.
understand.
Like, I don't get it. I've never understood that.
Well, then I can never properly relay it to you. Then you're fucked. Yeah,
that's
not something that chair, but like someone being like digging into my back. Get the fuck off me! I never understood.
Welcome massages. Our old pal Matt used to really dig into our show.
I had a professional massage once, and the lady asked me if I had like surgery, if there was scar tissue in my shoulders, and I was like, no, that's just my regular tension. And so I can tell you, like, some of us like need professional massages every now and then. Absolutely, I need to get like broken up like a ice flow once a year.
It is a real profession, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like when people are like, "Oh, I got a knot." Like, what are they talking? What is a knot? Like, I got a knot in my back. What are they talking about?
Like I don't know. It's like a knotted up, like a clenched muscle or something, like a sprained muscle. I don't fucking know. I'm not a doctor, but it's just like it's like a kink or something. Like
they're real. I mean, knots like a kind of a loose bozo term. I don't know.
Are you an alien? Like, why am I having to describe what having a body's like to you?
Massage her, man. A24, get on that. I checked into. I watched Blowout because you had brought that up like a couple of months back, Mike. I never seen Blowout, the John Travolta picture. I loved it. Fucking loved it. I loved it so much that I tried to follow it up with like another thriller starring like John Lithgow as the bad guy, Ricochet. It's fucking so horrible. I had to turn it off. It was one of 3 movies that I had to turn off this week because they were so bad. loved Blowout so much. Like the
Yeah.
story's bonkers, but like Brian De Palma's a fucking genius, man. That ending, dude, is so fucking good.
That's beautiful. And, shot in Philadelphia, right? Your old town.
Yeah,
old town.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Travis. Under Siege. I told you guys I checked back in with Under Siege. It's been almost 30 years. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all joking aside, I think the most entertaining part, aside from the obvious like cake scene, was probably listening to Steven Seagal deliver the line with a straight face. I can't deal with this right now. I got to make 20 gallons of bouillabaisse. It was so dumb. Like, he's not believable as this cook. But,
Look,
a decent amount is fun. Like,
it's funny you mentioned that. Because last night I was literally reading an article about what a dickhead Tommy Lee Jones is.
Yeah.
I was
Tommy
like
Lee Jones and Steven Seagal, yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, good point. But Tommy Lee Jones,
legendary
like,
asshole.
Apparently he has a heart of gold, but he's an asshole on the surface, so whatever that means. But
it was a breakthrough role for him. You know, that really put him on the map in a lot of ways. I mean, like, he'd done Lonesome Dove before that, that was, you know, and he'd been around for a while. Don't get me wrong, but he did Under Siege, and then after that he did The Fugitive, and then he was like a fucking household name.
Yeah, and that's how he got the fucking Two-Face part, which he never should have got. But fuck
no.
Go back and watch the Executioner song where he plays Gary Gilmore, the serial killer. It's his best role. It's so fucking good. He plays the real life killer. Where was I? Like, he's fun in it, but like all the villains are like such buffoons that like you can't take anything. There's no like tension. It's just fucking so stupid.
You see
buffoonery. I checked back in with Billy Bob Thornton. Like, I haven't even fucking thought about this guy in like 20 years or so. I'm like, remember this guy? All right, hold on. So I watched, and this is the movie. Remember I was telling you guys, like, I started this up, like, I don't know, just like to have in the background, and then I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, this is so fucking good. This would be perfect for the show, but I couldn't turn it off. Like, I don't know what our policy is. Like, can you watch it and then like a few weeks later bring it back for it doesn't hold up, or
whatever you want?
Sling Blade. I don't know when you saw it last, but it's a masterpiece of the highest order. It's so fucking good. So well written. Billy Bob Thornton should have gotten the Oscar. It's fucking amazing. John Ritter is incredible.
I completely agree with all of that. I do.
I was blown away. Is there a fly in your apartment?
Did you watch Blown Away?
Big time echo.
Remember Blown Away with Jeff Bridges and his father, Lloyd Bridges? I can't remember who that guy was.
Blown Away is not very good.
No.
But I got to thinking after watching Sling Blade, like, Christ, Billy Bob Thornton, this guy is so fucking good. So I checked back in with A Simple Plan. Like, I remember kind of liking that in '98.
Sam Raimi, right? Yeah, it wasn't great.
It's not good.
It wasn't great then.
It's not.
It's on my list, actually. It was recommended to me. I never saw it, so I still gotta watch it.
See it, but it's just so like plot. It's like gift shop book. Like plot, like one dumb chapter after the other, and then you got this, and then this happens. It's fucking dumb. But I gotta tell you, man, I checked in with Clute from 1971. I went way back because I've always had my eye on this Jane Fonda. Like, I thought to myself, I've never really fucking seen a Jane Fonda movie, and she won Best Actress for this like thriller where she plays like a prostitute, sex worker. What are we supposed to call these people nowadays? Sex worker.
Sex worker's fine.
Yeah. Anyway,
human being.
It sucks. I don't know how she got Best Actress. Like, this woman, I don't know how she's in. Well, her father's Henry Fonda. She's so boring. She has no charisma.
She's done other movies.
The Jane Fonda movie.
She's done other movies. I mean, like, she's got, you know, I think she's got some charisma in some stuff.
I was bored to tears, and then after that was over, I checked back in with Chinatown from 1974. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. It's fucking boring. I don't see what the big deal is.
I watched it a couple years ago.
I'm sorry.
I felt the same
It's fucking
way.
boring. For a movie about water, it's dry as hell. I'm sorry.
Was that Polanski? Who directed Chinatown?
Yeah,
it's Polanski.
Like, every time I see it, I'm like,
yeah, I don't know.
Do I like it? Is it good? And I'm always just like, this is fucking boring. I don't care.
I guess I need to revisit it. I haven't watched it since I was a kid. I'll have to revisit and let you know what I think.
And
when I was an adult 3 years ago, it was pretty bland.
Very bland. I don't normally go on too long, but I do want to squeeze just a few more in if you can indulge me.
By all means, sir.
I tried to watch Popeye, Robert Altman film. I don't know if you've tried to watch it. It's unwatchable. It's unwatchable.
It's bizarre.
It's like, how is this a movie? What the fuck is this?
I can't believe it's an Altman film.
I can't believe it's such bullshit. I don't know if everyone was just high on the set. They're like, no one's gonna see this. It's fucking so dumb. Mike, I know you talked about this on Is It Safe podcast, but this is why I was so upset this morning. I spent 4 hours watching the Crime of the Century doc on HBO. I was out of my mind with rage. There's no other way to talk about it. I mean, $100 billion a year to pharmaceutical companies, 500,000 dead Americans of overdoses. And I mean, the doc is good. Alex Gibney did Going Clear. So it's a really competent doc if you're into those, but it's fucking infuriating. Granted, it's like bankrolled by the Washington Compost, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway, but
is that true?
What they do, yeah, I mean, it's like their movie. But what they do give you is, it's just in fucking, I was screaming in my house, throwing shit. Woke up the bed like 5 times. My dogs are pissed. You got to see it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. In fact, Mike, I was so mad. After I cried on the remote. There's tears on the remote. But after it was over, I was so fucking fired up. I'm like, I got to watch something just stupid immediately to like cleanse my palate. I just need something dumb. So I put on Strange Wilderness.
Yes!
For you, Mike. And I lasted about 5 minutes. It's the dumbest movie in my entire fucking life.
Ernest Borgnine's in that fucking movie.
He's also in basketball, though. I mean,
it's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I don't understand like stoner like a guy like with a bong like on the couch giggling. That's funny. Like I never got that. Like, what is this?
Well, not all parts of the movie are funny. Yeah, like
why do people like these?
I like the people that are in it. There's a lot of cool people that I think are funny. Jonah Hill, some of the Steve Zahn and some of the Broken Lizard bozos, Kevin Heffernan. So that's why I enjoy it. It's dumb as fuck. Kevin Nealon pops in. Yeah. So.
You've never talked about it. Never once has Mike been like, this is a piece of art. This is cinema. Never once has Mike been
a chuckle.
It's always been like, this film is trash. This is important to me. Personally, I would not expect anyone else to like this. This has been his resounding call every time this movie's come up. Am I right, Mike?
I think that's very accurate description. Yes, well done.
What about you, Mike? Sorry to go on too long.
Oh, it's great. And Jeff Garland's in that movie. I mean, there's a lot of funny people in that movie. So, and fucking Harry Hamlin. Harry Hamlin's in that movie. Oh my god, so dumb.
The comedy styling is not Harry Hamlin.
All Happy Madison movies suck. Fred Wolf should. I hope he never makes a movie again. He's not funny.
Fred Wolf must have really good friends in the industry.
He really must.
He must be a great guy.
Jokes and like weed. It's not funny.
It's hard to argue with. You're right about that. But Happy Madison have their moments. Grandma's Boy, I think it's hilarious. But other movies like The Ridiculous Six, fucking just wretched. But you always know what you're getting with a Happy Madison production. If you're expecting something heavy, then you're gonna, obviously you're in the wrong place. This isn't Noah Baumbach. Rachel getting married, presented by Happy Madison. I don't know if I see that.
Rachel getting stoned and farting on the couch.
Happy.
Oh wait, no, I always mixed up Rachel.
No, you did.
Yeah, I did it.
You did it. Rachel getting married. Rachel getting married. Yeah, you meant
Margot at the wedding. Right. Rachel getting married. I actually like Rachel getting married a lot.
I think it's great. I think it's got a bad rep.
I concur. All right, yeah. So movie. I reduced my movie intake, but unfortunately, and I mentioned this in our text thread over the weekend, we had some really shitty Memorial Day weather, at least to start the weekend. So it just made it so easy to fucking watch movies. There's nothing I can do about it. My hands are tied here. But it's warm today, and it was warmer. I got outside more this week. I will say that. Just so right. I know you guys really care about that. Everybody out there, you're really dying to know what I've been doing every day.
Were you out there every morning raising your American flag and saluting it properly?
I wish I had a button that would raise it automatically. I mean, boy, that must have been expensive to install, don't you think?
Rumsfeld got that big money.
I watched Flight, a movie directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Denzel Washington. And I saw it once a while ago, and I was like, it was all right. I watched it again, and I was really much more taken with it. First off, like you said, Eric, you watched the Crime of the Century doc. It's about the opioid crime. It is a crime. And whatever you've heard The doc will prove that to you. But this is about a guy, Denzel Washington, who's an addict. He's an alcoholic, but he does an incredible thing. And it really brings out a lot of great points about, are our actions, is that what define us? Or is there, regardless of other actions in our lives, are those priorities over, like saving a life versus, hey, you're still a scumbag? It's a weird area. It's a philosophical debate that kind of pops in your head when you watch this movie. And I think it does a really, really good job of expressing the reality of addiction. Much, much more a movie about addiction than fucking Flight. I mean, it's called Flight, and they advertise it as like this plane movie, but it's really not about that at all.
Yeah, it's the plane's like the first 20 minutes, maybe, right? And the rest of it's like the aftermath of the event.
We're gonna roll it.
Yeah, I wonder if Flight suffered some because of Sully that had came out around the same time, and people were kind of like, okay, I've already like seen that movie, or like,
Sully came out. I want to mention this because Sully came out in like 2015 or 16, but the event had happened in 2009, so it was in 2012 when Flight came out. So maybe they were like, okay, Sully, the real life thing, fuck that.
Yeah,
that's very possible.
I'm not sure, but I feel like it's a pretty underrated film.
I agree, and it's a rare rated R movie by Zemeckis. So
it's not a true story, or is it, Mike?
It is.
It's based on an event that happened in Alaska. It's obviously they changed the details, but unfortunately, the people in Alaska who tried, because a lot of people give shit for the movie because they flipped the plane upside down. Spoiler alert, to try to survive.
It was in the preview.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck it, they put it in the fucking trailer. But they actually tried to do that in real life, but they actually crashed. So it's based on a true story, but really has nothing to do with this movie at all.
Oh, the symbolism of like the ego and any addict with a huge ego, and when you have that amount of power as a pilot, I think that mirrored pretty well with the character. I dig Flight.
Cool. Wow. I didn't realize we had so many Flight fans. I feel better now. I feel good about myself. I feel like life's going to be better going forward.
It is.
Isn't that nice? Yay, it is. Travis just confirmed it.
I'm here to tell you.
I'm going to tell you. I watched this dumbass movie that I watched a lot when it came out. I had it on DVD in 2005-ish, and I was really excited for it because it teamed up two people that I really loved at the time. 2005, you got Matthew McConaughey, and then you got Al Pacino. And you're like, wow, McConaughey and Pacino in a movie? This is going to be amazing. But it's shit, and it's still shit. Two for the money. Two for the money is not good. I'm not going to recommend that film, but I have high hopes. It's basically about two guys, they're sports bookies. They run a sports gambling thing, and it's just, there's a lot of stakes, but it's just stupid. Jeremy Piven's in it. Renee Russo's in it. There's actors that are good in it, but otherwise it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? I watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a TV show, obviously, but Travis said, he throws those in from time to time, and I thought it really made me emotional. I thought it really was a great, honest, genuine interpretation of real life issues. Racism and discrimination, and kind of coming to terms and giving people credit for the things that they should be given credit for that were buried in history. There's a lot going on in the show, a lot more than you might think for a Marvel entity, and it has some problems, and I realized that after I started to read reviews about it after I watched it. But I was taken by the closing of it all and seeing him. Spoiler alert. There's some cool shit in this show that really got me excited.
I'm with you, man. I thought it was pretty great. I mean, I agree. There's some down moments, but overall, I mean, just another home run from Marvel for me.
I agree. And I know Eric doesn't give a shit, so we don't have to worry about his opinion on this.
We can move on.
He's not a guy who likes. I mean, Marvel's fun, Eric. People have had good times watching Marvel movies and TV shows. So
we don't need to try and convince him of it.
I'll speak for myself. I'm just taking a break for now. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I'm just taking a little break. There's a lot of content out there, but that one I did hear great things about.
A lot of content out there. All right, I watched Dallas Buyers Club, and it was fucking incredible. It's so good.
Oh yeah,
I hadn't watched it since I saw it in the theater, and man, it's just as good then. Really, really beautiful movie. Honest portrait about a guy and pain and AIDS, and I love when people, it's a true story about a guy he's from the fucking hardcore, like the trashiest discrimination kind of society. He's a rodeo guy. He's in Texas. He's a cowboy. He's like, fuck everybody. He's a womanizing asshole. And then AIDS happens, and he's like homophobic as hell. But, that story's not made up. He really did change as a human. You know, there was a diary that Matthew McConaughey got access to based on Ron Woodruff's own story. It's real, so it's pretty cool, man. It's inspiring, and it gives me hope for the future, believe it or not.
So did you read the McConaughey book and then just like I gotta dig in to McConaughey movies?
Yeah, it definitely led me. Like I've been covering. This has been going on for like a month now. Yeah, I think. Remember, I told you I watched that dumb movie, but my boyfriend's back, and he's actually in it for like 5 seconds. That was his first role next to Days of Confused the same year. So. Huh. I watched Eddie and the Cruisers. It's such a stupid title. I love saying Eddie and the Cruisers, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's got some catchy music. It's got this guy in it. He looks like John Cougar Mellencamp, but he's not. So it's basically like. I always think of John Cougar Mellencamp when I see Eddie and the Cruisers, but it's got Tom Berenger, Ellen Barkin. It's somewhat entertaining. Oh, and early Joe Pantoliano, by the way, Travis.
Hey, we love him.
We do. I watched Stuck on You. You guys remember this dumb movie?
Yeah. In fact, last time I saw it, I was chuckling.
Who's in this? Give us a refresher.
Damon and Greg Kinnear, a Farrelly Brothers movie. Yes, it's a Farrelly. They're stuck together. Damon and Kinnear.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're like Siamese twins.
Conjoined, but yeah, whatever. So.
Yes, sorry, you're right. My bad.
Well, I didn't know that till I watched the movie again. So.
That's you're right. I used an archaic term. I apologize.
But it's Farrelly Brothers stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny, but it's pretty dumb. It's got Cher in it. You like Cher? Anybody? Cher?
I do like Cher quite a bit, actually. She's in that movie. I don't remember that.
Yeah, she's like she's a main part of the movie. Yeah. So if you want a dumb comedy that is way over the top and it's early Eva Mendes and there's a lot of quality actors in it, it's a dumb film because it's the premise itself is absurd.
Oh yeah.
But as Farrelly Brothers always do, they're going to give you some real stupid shit, but they're still going to try to bring some heart into it. And they've always done a better job than a lot of other comedies of trying to mix the two at a reasonable level. So,
like The Green Book.
I was thinking maybe something about Mary, Kingpin. Yeah.
Me, myself, and
Irene.
Right,
oh my God, we're jinxing each other.
Hey,
wow, that was weird. All right, yeah. So I never saw Pitch Perfect, and Travis said I had to watch Pitch Perfect too, so I watched.
Oh yeah,
I thought you did. You told me.
I was kidding. I was joking.
Oh, I wish I had known you were kidding because I really. Pitch Perfect, the first one, I never saw it. I watched it.
I've never seen either one of these movies. I was fucking
like
around.
all three of them.
Oh, shit. You like all three of them?
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect it's an entertaining movie. The first one's entertaining, but they have these commentators in it. It's Michael fucking Higgins, Michael Scott Higgins,
Michael John Higgins. Right?
Michael John Higgins, thank you. And Elizabeth Banks, yeah. They're the commentators, like the play-by-play people of the a cappella events. It's so bizarre, but the shit they say in part 2 goes off the rails in a really racist, bigoted, like misogynist. It's just not funny. They're awful jokes. Pitch Perfect 2 is shit, and I wish I'd known you were kidding because I would not have watched it, Travis. I really took you seriously.
If you don't know me by now, will you ever know me?
If you don't know me.
I mean,
it was online. It was online.
You're like, I'm gonna watch Pitch Perfect, and then you're like making a big deal about it. I'm like, well, now you gotta watch the second one because you watched the first. I don't fucking know. There could be 40 of these things. I don't know.
If I had heard your voice say that,
Kendrick do the laundry for like 8 hours. I think I love any dance competition movie. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Anytime there's a competition, there's a dance. They got train, and then it's a big competition. They're fun.
Content. I'm not watching any dance movies. It's too much content.
All the Step Up films, I'm saying. Step Up to the Streets?
I never saw that one.
Haven't got it.
Yeah, I don't think I watched those types of movies either, but I wish I known Travis was kidding. I would not have wasted my time. Don't watch 2. Definitely don't watch 3. I didn't watch 3.
I had no idea I wielded such power.
Well, you're in text form. If we were verbally
you would have figured,
conversing, I would have known you were kidding. But hey, that's how it goes. And then Bernie, 2011, great movie. Richard Linklater, Jack Black, based on a true story. It really is a real guy. Bernie.
It's good.
It's fantastic. I've seen it before. It was only one time though. I wanted to go back and check it out. It's a great movie. I strongly recommend this to close out the week. Bernie. Jack Black at his best.
Highest recommendation. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
So the reason I have not watched this movie, despite hearing many praises about it, is that it sounds exactly like Weekend at Bernie's, right? And it's called Bernie.
Oh, yeah, it couldn't be farther from that. Yeah,
isn't it like the same exact fucking plot?
No,
because I read a blurb about it once, and it was like dude makes guy pretends dude's still alive so that he can I don't know, hang out.
Let's just say the body,
with the Liechtenstein.
The body stays in the freezer. It's
someone dies. Someone dies. That's it, though. That's it. That's it.
Some blurb I read was overly it went. Yeah, it definitely made it sound like that was the case. There's like hijinks, that there was hijinks.
There's no corpse puppetry. I'll tell you that.
No, I'm definitely not going to watch it.
Oh shit! See, now we're turning him off.
Yeah. I'll check it out.
I would
strong recommendation from both of you. I should check it out.
That's true. And Matthew McConaughey's in it, so there you go. Isn't that fun?
Well, all right. That explains a lot.
And fucking old woman Shirley MacLaine. This is like one of her last roles. It's crazy. I know she's still alive. She's not dead. I'm not saying she's dead, but I've not seen her in a lot of movies recently. I'm just saying that.
Want to have a chat about Guardian Tess again, Eric?
Oh, that takes me back to the early days. Man, I feel like we're doing episode 5.
Some Guardian Tess jokes. Bringing them back.
Well, there it is. Mentioned earlier, the director of Gremlins and Small Soldiers and a lot of fun movies. It is The Burbs.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
That's the only drop I got from the movie.
Apparently.
But it's still funny.
You promised many drops. You got 1 drop.
I'm such a failure, Travis. I apologize.
We'll quote it instead.
I feel like I let somebody down. I wanted to do something for society that people would approve of, but, I'll keep trying.
Well, Mike, what do you think a 10 on the tension scale would sound like?
Oh, I got it right here. I'm not kidding. Check this out. There it is.
Yes.
That one's for audiences everywhere. Anyone going to bed tonight?
Knowing that, I'd probably put Rube at like a 5 or a 6. I mean, that's a high bar.
My favorite part. Go ahead.
Wait, I got another one. I'm sorry.
Came with the frame.
The Game with the Frame. All right, that's a good one. Courtney Gaines, very important. All right, so this one selection, and as Mike already said last week, typically the way our show works is we analyze shows, movies, and whether or not they hold up still. And this is one we know from the start going in that we all love this movie tremendously. So we're just going to gush about it for a while. Where to begin?
Well, I'd like to begin where we always begin. The first time I ever saw this movie, I think was definitely on like HBO or like cable, because we didn't have a box copy of it, but it just came on TV one day, and I remember being in my early like 11, 10-ish, so 91-ish, and I just thought it was funny. I thought it was goofy, and I was enthralled by it, and it became rewatchable and rewatchable and rewatchable. And whenever we did get a copy, my grandpa had a copy eventually, a VHS copy, and just burned that to shit. And I feel like I could quote a lot of this film to you all, as I'm sure you guys could do to me.
Yeah. I have a really good memory of this film. I actually don't remember the first time I watched it, but I do remember the second time I watched it, which was I was 10. So it was like I watched it when it was new, and then again when it was like shortly after while it was new, because like I was like staying with my uncle, and he was like took me to a friend's house of his. So like it was like entertain my nephew, got to rent some movies to entertain my nephew, give him a bunch of cherry Coke and set him up in the corner. So I just watched. So I remember just watching The Burbs, and like I'd seen it before, but like this was the first time I think I really paid attention. Again, I was like 9 or 10 or whatever, maybe 11, and just like this right here. They also ran a Dennis the Menace. I tried to turn that on, and like I turned it off, and like put Burbs back on, watched it again. I'm like, yeah, this is the shit right here. Fucking wow. Burbs.
So. This can't be ignored. Am I looking at a Ray Peterson and Art Weingartner shirt?
Yeah, I thought maybe you would notice.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I've had this shirt for a few months, but I figured this was definitely the one to wear for today's episode.
Yo, Rockville!
More drops.
Downloading drops.
They're coming out of nowhere. I didn't notice that shirt at all because it was just slightly different than their. It's a drawing, so those of you can't hear it. Those of you who are hearing it can't see.
Thank you for admiring my unlicensed Burb shirt.
It is, yeah.
I know I say it a lot, but if you were a resident of Brighton and you got your movies from the Meyer video store, it's unlikely that you were ever able to rent the Burbs, because I had their copy at my house. I would rent it every single time I went to go grocery shopping at Meyer. We watched it over and over and over again. Which is strange because I remember seeing in terms of when it comes to Hanks. Not that this is related, but I saw Big in theaters. I saw Turner and Hooch in theaters. I saw Dragnet in theaters, but I missed The Burbs in theaters. And yet I just watched this nonstop back in the day. Me and my older brother Marty would just sit there and watch it together and laugh. And it's some of my favorite memories being a kid.
I have to assume that you probably called.
A lot of combos, a lot of Fago, rock and rhyme.
I gotta tell you, I laughed a lot watching this last night. Like it admittedly been a few years since I watched it, but it still made me laugh multiple times out loud, and not one but two jokes that had gone by me on previous viewings came up. I had never noticed before.
Like a Carrie Fisher sex joke I'd never caught until last night.
I never caught when Bruce Dern says, "Give me 5. I've got to go set up a communications thing," and Art's like trying to give him like a high five and like smacking at his hand as he walks away because he didn't know what he meant by "give me 5."
Wow. Well, I laughed too. It definitely still makes me laugh. But I don't know what the rating is on this. I purposely didn't look because I wanted to guess for the IMDb rating.
I don't know either.
No idea.
All right, cool. What do you guys think? I'm
8.1.
8.1. Okay, that's
8.1.
Well, I know the critics were not kind, so I'm going to say
8.9.
I'm going to say 7.2.
I'm going to say this doesn't get a 7 for a stupid reason, just because people are dumb. I'm going to say it's like a 6.6.
Yeah, my real guess is 6.9.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Did you?
Is it really?
It seriously is. Well done. 6.9.
All right.
Okay, well, I think that's we all agree that's kind of bullshit, but hey, we don't own IMDb.
It's not terrible, but I'll tell you guys, I wonder, I was thinking about this last night, if one of the things that binds us together as a friend group is a mutual independent love of the Burbs, and similar things like it. But like when I went to watch it last night, to my fucking amazement, it's not on Amazon Prime, it's not on Hulu, it's not on fucking HBO Max, it's not on anything. I had to rent it through goddamn Voodoo. I had to update my payment information. It took forever because my VPN was acting up. It was a big fucking to-do to get to watch this movie.
I did the same thing. Yep. I had to rent it from Voodoo, for Christ's sake.
Did you give YouTube a couple shots? Because there's like full movie on YouTube. I start watching it. It's like, here's how to keto diet. I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, shit. I looked at it as that too. Yeah, I rented it on Voodoo, for God's sake.
That's terrible.
I don't know. Yeah,
amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Is this not the cult classic that I thought that it was?
I guess I'm surprised. I've had
Unless
a copy
they're coming
forever.
out with,
This is one you got to have a copy of. But
sometimes, I'm sorry, Mike. Sometimes, like when they're about to unveil like a new Blu-ray or something, they'll restrict the streaming so they can make money off a physical copy. Yeah. But it's bizarre.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out. I'd like a 4K restoration or whatever, but that'd be nice. But but at the same time, this movie's all shot in a fucking soundstage. It doesn't have to look tremendous.
It's the definition of a backlot movie. Yeah. This movie's all on a fucking backlot. Oh my God, it's fucking hilarious.
It was interesting watching it in HD though. Yeah, in part for that reason.
Yeah, actually, when I watched it this time, I really was looking beyond the houses. Like, I noticed the mountain that is clearly right over. They try to zero in on like Middle America.
Giant mountains in Iowa.
That was the first time I ever thought about it like that.
That opening shot, for one, I love it when movies will like incorporate the Universal logo or like the DreamWorks kid swing. I love it when they play with that. And this is one of the best ever.
Perfect, by the way.
Then I'll check it out just for that and the sequel. Waterworld got a great beginning for that. But yeah, no, I love that intro to the Burbs, like zooming in, like that's some pretty good special effects for 1989. And real quick, another thought I had, like I'm terrible with dates. I'm a historian that's terrible with dates. Most of my favorite movies, a lot of my favorite albums, if it didn't come out in 1993, I probably don't know because for some reason that number stuck in my head. But this is one of the only movies where I'm like, it's like Batman, like 1989. Like it's off the top, like, yes, Burbs, 1989. It's locked in.
Great year for movies, man.
Yeah.
The third Indiana
Think,
Jones.
right?
Beetlejuice, 88.
88, I think.
But,
Eric knows.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing about 89 in comedies, because I did a little research. Because in what we're about to find, Mike, the critics were not that kind to the Burbs, whereas they were in love with some other comedies in '89 that just no one talks about. Not We're No Angels, Driving Miss Daisy, like War of the Roses, like some decent pictures, but like no one talks about them, and yet they just slayed this. So it was a weird thing for '89 because dark comedy, this and Heathers both just got annihilated by critics.
And now they're like two of the only movies people are going to, like, no one's going to talk about fucking War of the Roses or even the Academy landslide that was Driving Miss Daisy. No one talks about that movie unless they're joking.
Man, that is fucked up shit, man. What a world we live in. But I got to tell you, yes, Eric, you are right. 53% on the thermometer. That's a splat, which is just the dumbest thing you'll ever see. This might be one of the dumbest things you'll see on the internet. And I'm happy with that opinion. I really am.
So much.
71. Yeah, there's so much. Remember we used to go to, back in the 90s, we used to go to that stupid website, rotten.com. That was so dumb. We spent all day on rotten.com in the library. Miss Melosa was like, you guys, what are you doing? And we're looking like decapitated human beings. Like, just a fucked up shit. Teenagers are weird. So. Anyway, 71% is audience score. So I'm actually surprised. I thought the audience score would be higher, 71. I want a little more from the audience on that, but I guess we can't have it all. As far as the critical bent, like Eric was mentioning, there were people that I guess just didn't get it. Here you go. Kevin Thomas from the LA Times. It's inconceivable that the Burbs looked good on paper. Jeez.
That's sad. That's not even fair. Because to me, to interject into our thing real quick, one of the things I like so much about this movie is this fits so neatly into a long-standing tradition of, like, let's call it the what's he building in their film genre, to reference Tom Waits. Like, this is, it's like this is Disturbia or Rear Window or like so many movies where it's just like from across decades where it's like, I don't trust the person on the other side of the fence. Like, I don't trust my neighbor. Like, this is a classic trope. But at the same time, an utterly idiosyncratic movie, completely unique. So I think I don't know. That stands out to me.
Interesting. Wow, I'd like to watch that. Is it a trilogy or is it like a series of movies?
The Burbs?
No, the guy doing weird shit in his house that we don't know about. That whole series of films.
Well, yeah, Rear Window, and this reminds me a lot of Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. Remember that Twilight Zone episode? It's basically
totally
the same
thinking of that
thing, but like, I mean, just classic like 50s xenophobia before like any Europeans came to town. But
it's not an accident that these
mildly.
Yeah, it's not an accident that the Klopeks are foreign, right? They call them that. The foreigners is what Rumsfeld called them.
Yeah, they're all like they're Slovak. Are they Slovak?
Yeah, well,
it's not Slavic.
I think they're German, but like they cut out a lot of like the literally like xenophobic comments made by like Ray and Mark and some of the other things, which I'm glad they don't get too into it, but it's there.
Yeah,
we don't need to have to be beat over the head of, and it makes sense for it to be there, but we don't need to be beat over the head with it.
That's true. It's good balance there. Gene Siskel, may he rest in power. The script would like to be a horror film, a comedy, and a commentary on suburban living, but it doesn't hit any target.
It hits all of them. It hits all of those.
All three targets admirably.
I know, yeah, you're dead and all, Gene, but come on, dude. That's a little bit harsh. Then Destin Thompson.
Oh, thank God. We missed you so much, Destin. Don't fucking let us down.
Game with the frame.
Meant to be. Destin says, although it initially flares up on high-concept firewood, this caper about nasty neighbors and curious klutzes gradually dies down into isolated crackles, sputters, and futs. P-H-U-T-S.
I don't get this critique that a lot of critics... Where is this supposed to go? Obviously, there's going to be a confrontation with these neighbors and like this band of heroes like going into their house and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. What do you want to have happen? For them to be like not murderers and for it to be all tidy and you'd never watch it again if that was the case. It'd just be typical.
Yeah, it's like they traded places here. Roger Ebert's is... It looks like Roger did Destin's and Destin did Roger's because Destin's was long, but Roger says a long shaggy dog story. Period. So I don't even know what the fuck that means.
I don't even know what the fuck that means either.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the shit.
How
about this
Chevy
one?
Chase?
A positive one. Yeah, positive one for the road from Variety. Director Joe Dante funnels his decidedly cracked view of suburban life through dark humor in The Burbs. There you go. That's more accurate.
I mean, to me, this to bring in one of our own reviewers, one of the things I love so much about this movie is its unevenness, and it because it actually does that really, really well. Like it there's like these tonal shifts, like almost constantly back and forth between comedy and horror and all kinds of stuff, but it's not afraid to be just completely stupid. Like, for instance, when it cuts to Queenie going to poop on Rumsfeld's lawn, and that music, like the barking sample.
I love that. Goldsmith, amazing.
Love that. Or like when Ray and Art are getting ready to walk up to the house for the first time, and everything goes full spaghetti western unnecessarily. The slow zoom into every face, and then again Queenie the dog, like which is just so dumb, but like it's not trying to be any, like it's just a fucking hilarious comedy.
The critics they give it shit for not being like edgy or satirical enough, but did they not know Joe Dante? I mean, this is a filmmaker who makes live action cartoons throughout the 80s. I think Dana Olsen, the writer and the filmmaker, could have made it more like something like Blue Velvet if they wanted to comment on Suburbia in that respect. It's a stupid cartoon. It's a slapstick. I mean, you've got someone breaking the fourth wall. You've got a close-up on a dog's point of view. I mean, it's supposed to be exactly what it is, and it does it perfectly.
And the music, Jerry Goldsmith's music is so great. All of it. All the music that's used in this. The goofy, like you said, the boop, 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 boop. I love that.
We talk. I go on and on about fucking dumb comedy scores. How they're always just like bum 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 bum. This is actually a really beautiful score. Beautiful orchestra. It's sweeping. It's like Americana, but also it has these horror elements. It's one of my favorite scores of the 80s.
I completely agree with you. It's so important to the story. It really is. Like Travis was saying, it creates these moments, and it also puts your perspective on certain situations depending on the scene. They're trying to put you into, this is horror now, or this is a scary movie, this is a thriller. It's not just a bunch of people farting around in their neighborhood. So the music really does that in this film a lot more than some other films.
He literally plays his own score to Patton when they introduce Rumsfeld.
Yeah, that's true. There's like a kind of a, it's almost like a leitmotif for some of the characters, not all of them. And speaking of introducing Rumsfeld, that is one of the best film introductions I can think of a character. The way he strolls out, the fucking music comes ripping in with just, and it's like, you know, it's in the movie, right? I forget what they call that. When, like, you know, that's actually like the characters are listening to it. So he opens his door right as the rock and roll kicks on, and, you know, fucking comes out with the shades. It's so cool. It's all, the only one that almost rivals it is Henry Gibson's entrance when he comes up in the basement stairs and you see like his shadow get bigger and bigger and bigger. That was a really great intro too.
You do not fool me. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we're talking about the Burbs here. We love the Burbs. Obviously, it's very clear from all of us. But one of the things I want to talk about was Joe Dante. He does an beautiful, Travis. Joe Dante does an amazing job. Whoever does it, I don't know if it's him or the casting directors that he always works with, but he casts these smaller roles in his films so well. Like Small Soldiers, for example. Like Phil Hartman is the neighbor. Like, and Phil Hartman's a big deal by then in 1998. But he's just playing a part of this entire story. And in this movie with fucking Duke Common, this is the best Duke Common role there ever was. I know Duke Common's been around, but this is the best one. It's as good as it gets. And that little piece of acting from his character, and Bruce Dern is elite, and Corey Feldman is the bozo teen. All of these little pieces come together with Henry Gibson, as you said, and it's always a part of a Dante movie that I think makes a difference. Casting doesn't have to be everything, but in Joe Dante movies, it generally seems like it brings up the movie a little bit more.
So in Dante is this huge student of 50s B movies, and in all of those classic, like it came from another planet, Plan 9 from Outer Space, you have just these people coming, these day players coming in for these one-liners, and they stand out. So he does that in all of his movies, especially with Dick Miller and Robert Picardo, who I love in Explorers.
Yes, but both who are also in The Howling, as we mentioned, Picardo, but also Dick Miller, and you know, like it's just so nice to have Dick Miller like in any remote horror or cult film, or like just having Dick Miller show up is just like that thumbprint like a stamp of approval. You know, it's just like you're into some good territory now. Dick Miller's in your movie.
When he comes into like the fantasy dream, he's like, "Oh, that's gotta hurt." It's just fun.
The granddaddy of all dream sequences, Mike, or what? I mean, this is a huge dream sequence.
Mike, come on.
You know, that actually doesn't bother me. I'm going to give it a pass. It's kind of, you know, it was so much a part of Ray's psyche. And Ray's psyche in this movie is definitely a part of the story because it's a hinted at. And I've always wondered what exactly, I mean, obviously he's stressed out, right? He's got stomach issues, ulcers maybe, work bums him out. He can't seem to chill and relax. He's got high anxiety in a period where nobody would be labeled quite. If it was 2020 and this movie's made, he'd be like, yeah, I've got anxiety disorder, you know, and I take drugs for that. But
he's pissed. I mean, going back to that dream sequence, I think it works because it's clearly a dream, so they have fun with it. Whereas so many dream sequences, they just try to fool you as a fucking audience member.
That's a really good point.
That is exactly it is. That's it. That's what it fucking is. I didn't know exactly what it was, but you nailed it. Well done.
Now, on the other hand, I do have a big bone to pick with that sequence, real quick, and it's actually not with that sequence. It's
is it a femur bone?
Femur bone. We'll return to that later because I got some points about that too. But before the dream sequence scene, like directly before that scene, Dukeman and Hanks are suddenly. It cuts to Dukeman and Hanks suddenly are talking about Satanism, and I don't know where the fuck this book came from. Like they just like one of them just owns this Necronomicon, I guess, and they're like. And as they're talking about it, again, before the dream sequence, Dukeman says to Hanks, he goes, "This wasn't a dream. This was a premonition." Like, what wasn't a dream? It was a premonition. Like, I think the scene is literally out of order in the film.
Satan is good.
Satan is your pal. Satan is your friend.
Yeah, I dig it. I love all that stuff because, like, in the 80s, like, what were suburbanites afraid of? The satanic panic, man. We had like our kids like playing Dungeons and Dragons, being like having it very possible that you could bring Satan into your very own home, dabbling into this and into the occult. So that's I dig it.
Point. No, that's a really good point. I wish that the connection had had been a little more obvious because they basically go from like talking about Skip, who was a murderer, and I really dug the Skip story. Like this is the old urban legend that we're building the new urban legend, But there's like no reference whatsoever to Satanism until the book and then the dream. But you're right that the satanic panic owned the 80s. So and you contextualize it, it does make perfect sense.
That is true, yeah. Everybody was obsessed with Satan and backwards lyrics back then. What the fuck? There was even fucking lawsuits. People were charged with murder for.
Dude, I remember my mom like asking me if I played Dungeons and Dragons like in the late '80s. Like that's a cool memory because like that was like the era.
It was a scary time to be like a daycare center worker because like these people were getting sued left and right. Like not just be like you're bad at your job or even like you're a pedophile. It's like you skin children alive. We're going to fucking drag you through the mud in public. Like, what the fuck is this? Good thing that's all gone away, QAnon.
This movie's a simple comedy on the surface, but what it does really well is it sticks to a lot of details. Like when Art comes over the first time, he's trying to... First off, that's probably the most absurd thing in the movie, that he's shooting a rifle in a little cul-de-sac neighborhood in the backyard. Seriously,
reckless. Reckless.
In a movie of absurdities, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. But he comes into the house and he starts pounding food. Art likes to pound food. But a little time where he grabs the dog food and he doesn't realize it because he's just eating everything. And they don't say anything about it. You just got to catch it. He's like, oh, God, it's fucking hilarious. Those little details.
You're going to take my pineapple? We had plans for that, clearly.
Hey, you want to go down to deli and get one of those subs?
I didn't know that he had passed away, but that does kind of explain where he went. He was a good one, Rick Dukeman. He was very funny, and that's one of the things about the movie. It's interesting to watch. Like there's a lot of people that have passed that are in the film. We talked about Dick Miller and Carrie Fisher, but I had maybe the biggest what do they call it? Fucking Mandela effect moment. I think of my entire life. For some reason, it's always evolved around celebrity deaths for me. But I was certain that Bruce Dern was long dead. I thought that Hollywood, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like his farewell to film. The man's alive and well as of this recording. I don't know why I have a very clear memory of the man dying, but I guess that was in a different timeline. I don't know.
You know, Tony Bennett's alive still too. These
I knew
people just
that.
don't die. It's crazy.
I knew that. Yeah, some people just fucking live forever.
But yeah, Bruce Dern. I want more Bruce Dern roles. He had a pretty
Hell
good
yeah.
2010s. He had a
Dude,
nice 2010.
I
run.
looked him up on IMDb. Like, not only has he like been working since God, I keep forgetting the name of it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, he's done like 4 or 5 movies a year for the past like 6 years. He's just cranking them out. I've never seen any of this shit. I don't know where it's going, but he's still working.
He's got he's got the very distinct. I don't know if you'd call it. Well, I'd call it a prize because John Wayne go to hell. But he's the only person that ever killed John Wayne in a movie. The Shootist by Ron Howard in '79.
Wow.
And Rance Howard's in this movie. Weird.
Wow, weird. That is a Mandela effect.
Well, that's not Mandela effect, but it's interesting.
I swear that was Ron Howard at the end. That is Waingro at the end as the cop.
Was it?
Oh shit! Is it?
Yeah.
No shit.
Wow.
The white cop the white cop at the end. Wow.
Yeah. Waingro.
Yeah.
It was really exciting to see a person of color. Of course, they made him a cop at the end. I'm like at one point, there's the black cop at the end, and then there's even like a black EMT in the background. Like they both share the screen at the same time. Like there it is. There's 2 black people in this movie at the same time.
Finally!
Because, I mean,
It is an accurate representation of that neighborhood, though, because they're probably
right.
racist, and they have like those rules. What do they call those things? Those fucking
neighborhood
racist,
covenants.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, those were real. Those were not
what
fake.
the fuck is going on with this? Like with this ending, like they didn't even clear off the street. Like you've got like a group of people behind a thing, and yet like the prime suspects are just like wandering around talking to their wives. No one's dealing with the fire. Like it's like a free for all.
When the doctor and Ray come rolling out of the ambulance and they're like fighting to the death, like on the ambulance, like there's cops in the background, like still like guarding the crowd, like doing crowd work and like pushing them back and stuff. Not interested in the people trying to murder each other, like right next to him.
You're right. I mean, that's just absurdity. At the end of the movie, it's just out of this world absurdity. And at the end, I don't even care. Yeah, because I've already had a lot of fun with the movie. At that point, I was like, I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not going to look at it with a critical lens because I just don't fucking care to.
No.
Because it's dumb. It's supposed to be dumb.
No. I mean, there are some things that I'm, like I pointed out, like the dream sequence thing seems a little out of order. And admittedly, there was, I mean, like, to get my last criticism out of the way, I'll tell you guys right now, if in my life ever I stumble across a femur bone, a human femur bone, I am going to take it to the police. It's gonna, and that would be the end of the movie for me. I certainly would show my wife, who would probably not be like, "That's an interesting bone. Let's bring brownies over to the person who owns that human bone. Go in their home. Let's force our way into their home. That's a good idea. That happens within an hour of finding the bone. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?"
Yeah, I guess that's true. There's no outside world, though. It's even amazing the cops show up at the end of the movie because there's no outside world for 3/4 of this movie. Dude, it just suddenly has to.
Part. Dude, we don't have to go to the store and see a Klopek shopping. We don't have to see them at the football game. It's all in this neighborhood. It's so centralized and claustrophobic. I love that it just takes place on this one street.
I hate cul-de-sacs and naked ladies walking around.
Yeah, that's great. And both those guys are always in Dante movies too.
Yeah, we were talking about that when you walked away.
Yeah. I got to tell you, that's what I like about this film, though, is that it allows itself to be that way. It allows it to be in this one world, and it pulls it off. There isn't even there's a kid riding a bike in the beginning, the newspaper boy. That's true. But I remember I made a comment to you guys.
Sorry, but I love the coffee splash. That's instinctual.
Well, that's great. I'm sure that was improv. That's great.
So
Tom
funny.
Hanks improv. I'll bet there's several improv moments from him in this movie, but I think I texted you guys a couple months ago about I got annoyed. Why does every movie that's about a neighborhood has to have somebody riding on a bike and then some incident happens? It's a random and specific thing, I admit, but
you're right.
They didn't even do that in this movie. The kid throws some newspapers, that's it, and they never get out of that cul-de-sac. We watch a full movie about it, and it's still fun. It's amazing.
I love also that both Dukeman and Hank's characters are man, I'm on vacation. I'm gonna just stay at home I'm gonna fucking stay at home because I mean, like that's me too, dude. Like just staycation. Like I mean, it drives them both crazy within a matter of days. But like, why go anywhere when you got your home?
Your neighbor get drunk with the giant head and falls over. Nobody wants
He's
to.
he's a hydrocephalic.
But that's the funny thing. Like watching this for the first time as a homeowner, like literally, I got the same deal going on. Like the dude next door is an old man. I've never seen him. I've lived here for a year. I've never seen him. His house is dilapidated. Like so. I don't know if I go over there and introduce myself. I just kind of stick to myself because like. From what I understand, like he's taken care of, so I just stick to my own. And then the guy over here is like this dipshit that like will mow my lawn, like when I tell him, like when I don't even ask him to. So like there's these weird little like suburban complexities going on.
Yeah.
And like watching this at 40, did you guys think to yourself like, Christ, we're like 7 years older than like Ray and like Art in this, and like they're so domesticated, and this is only like a generation ago. You just don't see like guys at this age, like nowadays, just being in this suburban environment. It just struck me as a little bit odd.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I actually was annoyed by the fact that the dog Queenie is always shitting on Rumsfeld's lawn, but apparently it's not good for the grass. I feel like shit would be good for the grass.
No,
that always bothered me.
It kills grass. Come on,
it does.
You've had dogs, but here's the thing: as a dog owner. This old man is going to talk to the strangers who he's never spoken to before. Please watch my mail, but I'm just going to let my dog out the back. This dog I'm clearly obsessed with.
Yes.
I'm not going to arrange for anyone to watch this dog. I'm just going to go. It's very
not only that, like in an emergency, like I'm possibly having a stroke. Make sure the Klopex get my mail.
right. That's whatever.
So fertilizer's good for the lawn, but it's not dog shit. It's got to be like specific fertilizer.
Well, fertilizer's like it's been gone through a process. It's not like you're just dumping pure shit on your yard.
Oh, I thought like goose shit was just thrown on the yard and it grows grass. That's how dumb I am. So.
Well, I mean, you're not an agriculturist. That's okay. One of the things that I was really fascinated to go back to like the house and its dilapidatedness. I was listening to something about Halloween, the movie Halloween recently, and like John Carpenter was talking about how when he wrote that, it was based in part on like every neighborhood's got that one house. Like my neighborhood had like, we called it Happy's because like it was the guy that was the name of the person. It was where our bus stop was for some ungodly reason, but it was where this guy lived. That there was all kinds of stories about this gentleman, and like there was his house itself was not scary, but like every neighborhood has like some house that people just avoid or they have stories about, and I thought that was really cool about this movie. But at the same time, the Knapps, the Knapp family who gets murdered by the Klopex, the Knapps lived there before, and clearly they're the ones who did not keep up with the house or the yard or anything. The Klopex have only been there for a fucking month. Man. They've only been there for a fucking month, and people are like, these people, their old house burned down. Neighbors from hell. I have no empathy for my fellow human. It's just like
expecting a full renovation in a month.
Right? They just moved in. They're like, what the fuck? Bees? Why do they have bees in their house? Like, it's like they just moved in. This is not fair.
Yeah, every neighborhood does have that house. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Livonia, the house on the end of the block, we all thought the guy was like a kidnapper. We seriously thought that. We're just fools. But it looked kind of...
You probably had reason to think that.
It looked less than other houses. That's all.
Dude, I grew up in Livonia. The guy at the end of the street, his name was Gil. He was fucking creepy. And to this day, I'm still scared of that name. If someone's name is Gil, I'm fucking scared.
By the way, when Travis said Happies, I immediately thought, eat Happies when you're hungry for some garbage and you need some food.
Yeah, no, I take that back. His name wasn't Happy. I was thinking of the pizza place too. No, his name was Smiley because he smiled constantly, and he had a car that he'd come every now and then he'd come like padding out into the driveway while we were like waiting for the bus to come out and tell us about how his car levitated and ran on magnetic technology. We're like, oh, okay,
holy shit. Wait, isn't Mr. Smiley, the song by the Mustard Plug, is actually about like a murderer guy, kind of like fucking...
Believe me, I remember that song, and I thought of Smiley, my neighbor / place where the school district thought was appropriate for us to wait.
That's so weird.
I mean, talking about the Klopex, like, if they make this nowadays, would they have the Klopex just be like regular citizens from like immigrants from Germany, and like they were the monsters all along, just like Tom Hanks' speech professed? Or do you think they'd go full out like silly, like they actually were serial killers? And is it a better movie if they aren't actually the killers? Because I bring up the monsters are doing on Maple Street because that's like the beautiful point of the story that people, when they're paranoid and fear does crazy things to people, is it a more interesting story if the Klopeks are not murderers?
I actually think, yeah, and it would be, because one of the biggest, I mean, this is the second week in a row we've watched a movie where someone's digging a hole in the stranger's basement or like someone else's basement, but like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you're digging up the whole backyard, which can't you tell where they dug? Okay. But you're going to dig up their basement and just, you hit the fucking gas line, dude. You blow up their house. This is the dumbest shit anyone's ever done. And so, yeah, it actually would be kind of cool for that to have been the end, to be like, well, it turns out we were the fucking monsters all along. I'm happy with the way it goes. I mean, I've got no complaints about this movie. It's 10 out of 10. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I do think that like it would have been equally good had it ended at that point.
You keep a horse in the basement?
Yeah, and who would be afraid of a Great Dane? Have you ever met a Great Dane? That dog was like barking at Rick Dukeman, like, "Come back and pet me! Come back and pet me!"
I've never seen a Great Dane in real life.
They're very friendly.
So Dr. Klopek says they're going to the university, which I assume is in town because that's why they moved there, to discuss a transfer. How long did they fucking think they were going to be gone?
Wait, but no, better question: how did they construct that giant fucking furnace in the basement? And why do that if they're only going to live there for a couple of months? And you bury bodies in your backyard and throw them away anyways. Okay, I'm still being critical.
And why is it like you saw a skull in my furnace? We've got a 5,000 degree furnace according to Art. They didn't take care of the skull. Like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, now
does it hold up?
Yep. Here we go. I mean, we've done it to Joe Dirt. We could do it to this movie, but it's not going to happen because there's too much joy. What else can we talk about this? I love the music. I covered that. I love the detail. There's so much to love in this movie. The actors, everything.
The guy that plays Brother Theodore that plays Ruben. Very amused. My whole life that the whole Klopak. What is that? Slavic? No. Which is so funny. But as I watched it last night, like waiting for that moment to come, what I really found myself laughing at was Ruben staring at Ray the whole time. He like looks away just long enough to look at Rumsfeld and be like, no. And then goes, resumes, just looking sideways, like askance, at Ray, just like the most unsettling stare down. It's so fun. But again, like, why wouldn't he? These people just force their way into his house. They're very rude.
Yeah, these people are dicks. There's a whole, I don't think we haven't discussed this, maybe we did. There's a whole kind of meditation on like the suburbs, because it's called the burbs, and people who live in these neighborhoods, like the guy who says the cul-de-sac. People are crazy who live in cul-de-sac, and people who point at each other in a mob, even though these people end up being murderers, that's a negative for them. But the fact that these people are just bored out of their minds, even though they seem to have everything they wanted. They wanted this life. They wanted to be in the burbs, you would assume. They all built this life to have a family and live in this lovely little neighborhood, but they're bored, they're confused, they're, I don't know, a little bitter maybe? I don't know. It's very interesting. There's a lot more that we could talk about on that subject.
I literally live in Hinkley Hills because like the cops came to like my dude across the street's house one time. The second the blue and red came on, my neighbor was out there just like in the street watching. So like everyone's fucking nosy, and it happens. Like mow their lawn 4,500 times. Unless you wanted to say something, Travis, I wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about Carrie Fisher, because she is like a known ghostwriter in Hollywood.
Yeah,
and she actually tossed a lot of lines to the cast and crew when she was there. Dana Olsen did, because they hired him as an actor just so he could do that and get away from the writer's strike loopholes. But Carrie Fisher threw a lot of lines at Hanks, and in particular, Bonnie, the woman that Wendy Shaw plays, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's great, because I feel like she's a little underutilized in the film.
Yeah, definitely. And like 6 years after being like the most beautiful woman in the world in Return of the Jedi, she's very like, well, I don't know if I should say this or not, especially 2021, but like she always just seemed like really like matronly and like, yeah, like she, like all that sex appeal was just, I don't know. I got no problem with Carrie Fisher. Yeah, I better stop there. You know what I mean? Like, you never saw her as like this hot woman. She just seemed like Rey's wife, even though she was like this beautiful woman that was Princess Leia.
Well, yeah, by that point too, in this movie, she's in the throes of addiction pretty heavily as well.
She helped
she was-
Corey Feldman a lot on the set, going through his shit too.
Yeah, Michael Jackson was on the set too, guys. Isn't that fun? Because he was friends with Corey Feldman, and Bubbles was there. The Bubbles the monkey.
Was he
the
really?
chimpanzee.
Wow.
He was. Isn't that
How
fun?
about Corey Feldman's imitation Batman shirt? That's a pretty fun little.
Yeah,
little
you know, I
moment.
actually noticed that for the first time watching this movie. I'm
like
why-
not
what does it
quite-
say? What does it
Not
say in the
quite- I don't know
wording?
what I don't know what I couldn't read the wording, but I just noticed that the Batman symbol is not quite right. That was pretty funny.
How about Nicky Katt's Skull Skate shirt when Rick
There it is.
Dukeman and his brother Peter created Skull Skates in 1979?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about
Interesting. Ray, your wife's home. Yeah, but nobody wants that. Nobody wants to deal with that mess. And we never got to meet his wife either. Does she ever on scene? I don't think she's
that?
ever on camera.
No, she's not on
You don't
camera.
need to. It's the same thing with a kid. Like you don't have to like cut to the kid like doing his own investigation. Like who cares? Just keep it with the adults.
But the kid's good. When the kid's on the camera, he's actually solid. I'm like, I want a little bit more of this kid. What's going on here? I want him to get in the hijinks. But they did me a favor and kept him out because I do get annoyed with children in movies. So thank you for that. I
Well, the
appreciate
parents
that.
become
For the
kids,
best.
so I think that's the point. That's why I love that scene. When it's like, please, could let him come out. Like, who hasn't done that? We're like,
Oh, that's
you
so
gotta
funny.
hang out with a guy you really don't know that much, but like, you just hang out anyway.
I do think that to go back to your point about like the neighbors kind of all coming out to watch this, like the people in the burbs are dying for something like this to happen. They're fucking dying for something like this to happen. They eat this shit up. Like they're really like leaping to conclusions, and they're like just way out of line left and right, and they just happen to stumble into being right, which is, I think, I mean, it would have been fun. It would have been interesting had the Klopeks not been killers. But ultimately, that is the fun part, is that they blunder into discovering the truth that they were right all along. It's funny.
Yeah. No, I agree. I wanted to read this real quick. This is from Joe Dante in the book, The Film of Tom Hanks, 1996 book. The Films of Tom Hanks. Joe Dante said, I can't think of many pictures since Lifeboat, never heard of it, that all take place in the same area. There was a lot of temptation to broaden it and go outside the neighborhood, but it seemed to violate the spirit of the piece. It's almost the kind of thing that could be a stage play, except that you could never do on stage what we've done in this movie. So that's...
He's right, because I mean, you're watching like the mental decline of Ray, right? So like in particular, and a lot of it is his neighbor Art's influence. His paranoia is rubbing off on him, and a lot of that has to do with the claustrophobic feeling of what's going on in the film.
You have two, Ray, I don't know what Ray's deal is. I think Ray's just a curious, annoying motherfucker. That's who, not Ray, Art is. Art is a curious, annoying, nosy neighbor, classic nosy neighbor. But Ray has issues. He's got mental health issues. He's got anxiety going on. There's a whole other movie that could have happened within this with him and old Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld's PTSD. He was in Vietnam. It's clearly established. Either Vietnam, I assume, most likely.
Yeah, Vietnam
and
would have been right.
Southeast Asia, we'd call that bad karma. Yeah. So
I love
and
Ray.
then- so he's paranoid. He has PTSD from this. You have two characters that are actually dealing with some serious shit, and there could be a different movie that this goes in. I think about it on occasion, but I still like.
I don't
this
know if
movie.
I'm willing to prescribe, diagnose him as mentally ill. I mean, like,
That's not mentally ill. I mean, that's
like when I'm around the house and I've got like a 4-day weekend and I'm married, I got the kid now. Like, I don't want to mow the lawn. I don't want to do shit. I just want to literally just fucking sit there and not do anything. So, especially with this viewing, like, I totally would just want to sit in my backyard with a 6 or a Stroh's light and just not do shit. Like, I don't know if he's anxious. I just think like he's overwhelmed and needs some me time.
Could we fund this? Could we fund Burbs the play? Steve Laskowski says yes, please. He wants
Who would you
Burbs
cast
the stage
nowadays? Yeah, who would you cast nowadays in a contemporary adaptation?
just
say
to go,
Colin Hanks.
just to go back real quick. I mean, for one, anxiety is not like a mental illness. That's a completely common thing that people I have, that plenty of people have. It's not it's not mentally ill.
It's a disorder. It's a mental disorder, but it's not an illness. Illness needs to go away. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then also, like, he's clearly driven to like aggravation to the point, when he's like flopping, take me to the hospital, I'm sick. Like he's clearly like he has like some sort of break. I mean, I'm not saying like he's
I'm
needs
only trying to
medication,
get some goddamn sleep.
which I have like I more than anything, I sympathize with that moment in the film where I think I've done that. Like I'm just lying here with my eyes closed. But to your point, casting it today. The first person that comes to mind, I don't know that you're going to agree with, but
Seth Rogen.
yes,
Ah.
for Tom Hanks, that's exactly who I was thinking was Seth Rogen.
Well, I thought you'd bring that up because I actually really like Neighbors,
Oh, I do too.
Seth Rogen and Zac Efron film,
Yeah.
which is kind of similar to this.
Which was a remake of Aykroyd and Belushi, right? So, or did did Belushi not end up being in it? Yeah, it's terrible. It was original. It's awful. Apparently, I've never seen it, but
I've heard
it
of it.
It was a remake of that movie. But
I didn't know.
Seth
remake The
Rogen, I
Burbs.
can see that. I feel like the Ray character has to be someone who's got a little bit of can emote a little bit more. Like Tom
More than
Hanks.
Seth?
Tom Hanks is hard to replace. So I
Yeah, I mean,
understand
Andrew
the challenge.
Garfield. I don't know.
Someone that can be serious and panicky at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. So. Jared Leto. I think Jared Leto would be ideal.
No, he does not have the comedy chops.
No,
They
Jared
gotta be
Leto
funny
played
as well.
Rumsfeld.
They gotta be, Jared Leto as Rumsfeld is not actually that bad. He's too young, but
Ed Harris was Rumsfeld. It'd be kind of funny.
yeah, Harris's Rumsfeld is pretty good.
Oh shit! Well, fuck, man, we have talked about this movie for a long time. And
We can talk about it another hour. I'm down.
Hey, hour 2, ready? Break.
Do it.
But this movie holds up. We know that, right?
We know that. We don't need to go around like we ordinarily do and ask
not
everyone if
gonna
it
do
holds
that.
up. We're not going to do that this week, right? Right. We don't need to do that.
Bizarre that Dana Olsen's only like real big credit was a movie I actually really like, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, the John Carpenter film. Yeah, I mean, with the script this good, I'm surprised he didn't have a few more like dark comedies.
He did do some other stuff though, didn't he? That's just the other big thing that he did. Am I wrong? Oh yeah, George of the
Jungle, Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh my God! Welcome to hell.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
Kind of
So
fell off,
dumb.
I guess. But,
Is this so? You said this is a comedy to me. Do you guys call it a horror movie, or you want to call it like a comedy horror?
I would, yeah. I mean, I would call it like a horror comedy, or maybe just a black comedy. But there's horror elements. I think.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Not
But to
just the
me,
dream sequence, but in particular the dream sequence.
is this a top 3 comedy for you guys all time? Can it crack a top 3?
Oh,
or is
Jesus.
that too hard? Is that too high?
That's a tall order. I mean,
This is a top 10. I mean, it's hilarious. There's no doubt. And like you said, Travis, to laugh out loud, and you've seen this a million times.
Yeah.
Just seeing it recently, that's saying so much.
That's what I'm saying. To me, this is a top 5 comedy for me all time. It really is.
I'd probably put it in my top 5 '80s movies, maybe. I'll say that.
Well, that's still a very, very, very high standing. Because there's a lot of movies from that.
This is top tier. This is upper echelon, and again, like it clearly doesn't have like this isn't Sam Mendes, this isn't Roger Deakins, this isn't this isn't. But at the same time, this is just one of the most joyful, funny. But also, like, it satisfies in different ways, right? Because it gets the funny bone, but it does hit that horror element stuff too that I eat up with a goddamn spoon. So, like, this covers a lot of ground for me, and the nostalgia, of course.
And it's 93 minutes. It's short, and it's fun to watch. Like you don't see a lot of comedies. I hate to harp on this, but nowadays, where the director really has a huge voice in it. Normally, nowadays, you just film the script. But Joe Dante, his footprint is on it so much. It's just so enjoyable to watch. Every scene is just so funny to watch, the way it's shot.
Yeah, you're right. He's like almost like a character himself.
Yeah.
In a way that's not distracting. That's
You're right.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Outside of his, dramatic work, some of his hardcore Philadelphia, Saving Private Ryan. This is probably my favorite Tom Hanks comedy. I love Dragnet. I think Dragnet's very, very funny as well. But I think this is definitely his best effort outside of drama. Forget the other rom-coms and shit. This is my favorite Tom Hanks movie outside of his dramatic efforts.
Speaking of Tom Hanks' dramatic efforts, was anybody else thrilled at the moment when he's like comforted watching Mr. Rogers and thinking to yourself, you're going to play him someday very, very well.
Yeah. He's like mouthing the song very subtly.
And then like he goes to go turn it off because he realizes what he's doing. Then he's like, no, no, I'm not going to turn it off. I'm just going to leave it on. Why would I be ashamed of this?
We had that exact same Magnavox. I had wood trim I swear, we had that exact same TV at my dad's in like 1989.
We had the same Woody, the Volkswagen that they drive.
That car.
Yeah, the classic Woody Volkswagen or whatever
the
fuck
wood panel station wagon.
Yeah, station wagon. That's what I was groping for. Yeah,
classic.
What else can you say, Mike?
I think we said it all. I mean, unless there's something you're dying to get out, we've covered 1989's The Burbs. And we want to thank Travis for that.
You're welcome, guys. I made that movie, and I did it for you. It's a delightful film. You know, it holds up goddamn real well. Such a unique and fun film. If you haven't watched it in a while, do so. It's you can get it on Vudu and Vudu only if you want to stream it.
That's true. This also, it's timeless too. Like there's no bogus shit in this movie. We're like, ooh, that's cringeworthy. There really isn't. Like it's just it shows you that you can make a movie in any time and just have it be enjoyable, and it could stand the test of time without, I don't know, creeping into waters where it's like, oh boy, that's really of its time. Sure, it's about the burbs. We still have burbs. Yes, technology's changed. We got the internet and shit now. There's other gadgets we have, but this is based. It is funny that he mentions, I think about going and getting one of those new electric garage door openers. Really? That was not new by then?
I like the part where he's like, he gets new tools from his, he's like showing off his tools. It's so real. He's like, you're going to build something with that? I don't know. Probably. No, you're fucking not. You're not going to build anything ever.
You know what? Another thing I didn't mention is like, I love the Ricky character, not only because he's just like a fun teenager, like an 80s, but like, I love the relationship he has with like the adults. You don't see that a lot. Usually it's just like, buzz off, you little asshole. Like,
yes,
he's friendly with them and they respect him. He respects them, and it's totally cool.
That's great.
I do want to stress that if you do intend to watch this, Vudu is a VUDU. It's a streaming service. You might have to buy the film. You don't actually have to go down to like the bayou and like kill someone with ancient voodoo practices to be able to see the film. It's just a streaming service.
I was about ready to do that last night when I couldn't find it anywhere. I was kind of freaking out for a second.
I got it on VHS, but I was too lazy to plug in the VCR, even though I don't have a job.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
All right, there it is. 1989's The Burbs. Thank you so much for everybody enjoying our film that was chosen by everybody. After all the other selections were removed, we were left with The Burbs, and we'll play that game again down the road. We'll have new guest hosts coming up soon. Angela Brancham will be back on the show soon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But next week, it's back to the old rotation. Travis. It's Rain and Travis Roy. Let's hear it, Bubby.
Here you go.
So I don't know about you guys, but this is kind of how the process goes for me. Is like, once a month we get to pick a movie. And so like I'll pick a movie, then I'll like immediately after I've picked the movie and like it's getting into the, your guys' turn and stuff, I've got a movie in my head and I'm like, this is the one I'm going to pick. This is going to be it. And then like about 4 or 5 days before Thursday's recording, I'm like, nope, I'm going to do this other movie. Then I'm set in stone for that one for like for like 5 days. And then the day of, I'm like, nope, I'm going to spend all Thursday thinking of like a million fucking movies. But the thing is, for like, I don't know, half a year or more, that original movie that I first think of the first time has been the same movie for me. I'm like, I keep on thinking of the same movie. I've had this movie in my head for months, so it's time to get it off my fucking plate.
Wow.
And I think it's a good one for our show, in that it's a movie that people talk very, very people talked very, very much about for a long time, but you don't hear people actually talk about it now. It exists now almost like in meme form and like cosplay, and one movie quote, one word movie quote that you hear all the time still, which is multipass. We're doing Fifth Element from 1997. We're going back to Luc Besson sci-fi space opera. It's time to give that a look and see, does that hold up? Because I genuinely feel like it could go either fucking way.
Definitely. I haven't seen it in at least 20 years. I'm excited.
I really have no idea. I used to watch the shit out of this movie, and now I'm like, I don't know how this is going to be. So I thought it'd be a good one to revisit.
This is a great call, in my opinion, Mike.
Bring me the Stones. I just need Stones. I just want to say Stones like Gary Oldman's character. Stones.
All right.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Seen this movie 80,000 times. So,
oh yeah, me too. But I haven't seen it in like 18 years. So
I watch it. It's been in the rotation. It stays. It's so interesting. And it's Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker was here once upon a time, and this was. I saw one thing. I just have to say this because it's true. Somebody's like, Chris Tucker invented podcasting in this movie. Which is fucking hilarious. It made me laugh. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that movie. It's a great call, Travis. This is a perfect choice.
Great choice.
Great.
It's got a lot going on. So yeah, this is perfect for our show. You've done it. We don't even have to do the show. It's so perfect.
Great. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Seems odd. Yeah. 2 weeks.
2 weeks for episode 64. We'll just skip 63 entirely.
Total Recall should probably be done as well. If we could do a whole sci-fi month.
We know
who
that's
knows?
a classic. I mean,
We've never done like a month, like a category month. Maybe we should do something like that.
that'd be
I don't know.
interesting. I'd be down for
Could be
that.
it.
Genre
These
month.
are ideas. Genre months.
I'm
yeah,
open to
yeah.
that. I'm open to that.
Yay!
Let's show the
All
people
right,
how the sausage is made.
Oh. Dunderbeck sausage. It'll fuck you up. That's it. This is the Cinema Nine Podcast. Thank you so much. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Next week, we'll be back with the Multipass Show, also known as The Fifth Element. I'm Michael Govier. That's Eric Branstrom. And he's Travis Roy. And together we're the Cinema 9 Pod. Thanks for your time now. Bye-bye.
Femur bone.
Green sky at morning. Neighbor take warning.
Green sky at night.
Neighbor take flight.